Okay, so welcome Stephen Strong to the Spiritual Journey. My name is Lindsay Banks, and Stephen is a out of Australia theory author, researcher, progressive archaeohistorian, and speaker. It's quite a lot of stuff, Stephen.
Well, thanks very much for that, and thank you, Evan, for writing it for me.
You're welcome. So I came across your website a few months ago. So I'd been out for a coffee with a friend who told me this story about the 21st of December and a magic box under Uluru. And I thought nothing of it. And then the next day, someone sent me exactly the same story with your website on. And I thought, right, I trust the universe and I'm listening. So that's why I've reached out, because I was like, I really wanted to speak to you. And since I contacted you about this interview, people have kept sending me like link after link with you in it, and I'm like, it's okay, I'm speaking to her.
Yeah, no, it has spread a lot over the last, I suppose, month in particular. It's going all around the world, which is quite important. So yeah, I'm not surprised you did get some sort of feedback on it. So more than happy to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, so you said that on the website you first heard this story, was it 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago when an elder contacted me and made mention of a ceremony, and he told me then it was in December 2020. This was about 3 years ago, and I thought, well, I'm never going to touch a date. Yeah. Now I'm down to minutes, but at that stage I thought, okay, fine. And he primarily told me the background setting, which hasn't changed, and over the last 3 years what we found is little bits that come around it, added to it, and a few minor alterations. But for me, when I first heard that, I thought, well, yeah, that'd be great, it'd be fantastic, but it's just wishful thinking. So I've started from a 50% sort of, yeah, well, it could happen, maybe it won't, 50-50, and I'm now sitting. Even in my last presentation, I've always said I've had an equivocation. I haven't been sure it's going to happen. I've always made that disclaimer, but I'm nearly at the stage now where I'm pretty well convinced there will be a ceremony. And if the ceremony actually happens, I'm fairly convinced what happens after the event probably is going to be as it's been told to me. So it's been a gradual process, and I've got to make the point. At no stage have I been in direct contact with the elders conducting this ceremony. I've been in contact with interlocutors and mediators between them and ourselves. So there's always that, even when I get to Uluru, there's still going to be that nagging doubt in the back of my mind about, well, what's going to happen? So, but having said all that, we may be involved in it, we may not be involved. I don't really care. That's immaterial. What's more important is the ceremony takes place. And in that regard, I'm now confident that will actually happen.
So as part of the story, apparently there's a box, is that right, that was placed under Uluru by the Pleiadians?
Primarily, yes. To begin with, the story I got was that they were going to place it there, but it's become obvious to me that original timelines are never linear, they're circular. Yesterday and today are the same. And my understanding now was that whatever this box or device is, and I've got a fairly good idea, but I'm not allowed to actually say what it is until after the event, and I know why. Some people have said it's a metaphor, some people have said it's literal. Well, I happen to know it's both. So what does the box do? Well, theoretically, what it's supposed to do is that on the 21st of December at 9:02 p.m, and there's been so many arguments about what the time is, I can tell you now, 9:02 p.m. at Uluru, punch it in your computer, put it against your time, where you're living, you'll find out where that is. What's supposed to take place is the elders are doing a ceremony, which they are doing, I know that for a fact, and they believe they can activate this box. They can get, I suppose the best way to put it is, if you've got a car and you turn the car on and it sits in neutral, that's what it's going to do. And then what I'm told is, what it then relies upon or is seeking is the energy and a positivity of a lot of people. Now, the deal is very simply, the box is supposed to change humanity's destiny, to right the wrongs that we created. So therefore, don't rely on aliens if you believe them, which are true. Don't rely on anyone else. We made the mess. We have to clean it up. And primarily, what I've been told is, if the right number of people are present, and there's a trick to this. For quite some time, I thought this was Australia first, but it is not. I've been told these cells are needed all over the world. What's supposed to happen is that if the number is correct, if people are putting in positive energy, it turns the box on. Now, what then happens is that you may be aware of the fact, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners will be, the Schumann resonance over the past year has been an erratic piece of work. It's flying all over the place. And I can assure you the reason why the world is flying all over the place is directly related to what the resonance is doing. What it's preparing each soul for is this change. Now, if the box is turned on, if the right number of people, and it is a large number of people, which is why we're pushing this to the very last day, if they can put that energy in, then the resonance splits in two. You continue with a lower resonance around 7 to 8 that we've been so used to, which is not a good resonance for this planet. And then a second resonance begins and slowly accelerates. What I can tell people is, if you think at 9:02 and 1 second, there's going to be a spaceship in the sky and Jesus on the cross, forget it. It's not like that. This is meant to be a leap of faith. There will be no signs in advance of this. What then happens is the box starts to build itself up, and so too does that resonance. And as each day passes, for a long time, I'm going to be honest, I thought that 9:02 p.m. was the day of reckoning, whether you're with us or you're against us. And after that, it split. I've been corrected on that because it's been an evolving process for all of us. What that actually means is the switch is turned on, the process has begun, but the final destination of each soul is still not set in stone. And what I mean by that is that even if you knew after 9:02, oh my God, I should be on that side, that makes no difference. You'll be judged by your soul, not by your intellect and not by your desires, but by your soul. And they will be the judge, jury, and executioner in some cases, or someone who releases you. It'll be one of the two. You actually can't physically or mentally control what your soul has done, because you are the past, you are the combination of all of this life and the lives before. These things are written into your soul and they can't be changed. What then happens is, as that resonance starts to pick up more and more, those people who are leaning towards that proper side become more emboldened. And I suppose the best way to explain this is, you're obviously you weren't around when I was in the late 60s and early 70s, when there was a massive change in attitudes, in beliefs, in consciousness. And we had what was called the hippie generation, the love generation, all those sort of things. It was like a warm-up event, right? So it'll be like this, but multiplied by much more. And what will happen is, because the world at the moment is completely imbalanced, this is supposed to be a place where evil and good are equally balanced, and you get a choice one way or the other. Evil is completely taken over this planet and many others, and there's going to be a reset. This is what this is all about. So if you are leaning on the right side, then you get taken up with that. If you're leaning on the other side, you stay. You don't get taken away, you stay there. But further down the line, you cannot have two realities on one plane. Now, I'm a scientist. I have a lot of trouble saying what I say about this because I do not understand it. But that doesn't mean much, because humans are insignificant pieces of work and we understand virtually nothing. So don't be upset by that. We're all in the same basket. So then what happens is, that lower resonance, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 years from now, starts to fade. And as it fades, so too does every soul attached. And when it disappears, they leave. Don't ask me how that happens, because I don't know. But that's the prophecy. Now, if that happens, fantastic. Now, I can tell you a lot of people have said to me, what if it doesn't happen? And I'm going to be pragmatic, because I consider that as a possibility. I've said to them this: the world right now is falling apart at the seams. Don't be surprised by that. You've only got to look out the window, and I don't have to convince you. I don't have to convince anyone. We all know this has been the worst ever. The planet is falling apart. Our leaders don't know what to do. All the species on the planet are becoming extinct. And what do? They have meetings every time nothing happens. Everything is going wrong, and they have no way of solving this anymore, because the lifestyle we have is counterproductive. So what then happens is this: as they actually hang on to this, the resonance picks up, and my understanding is it will stay in the hundreds. Now, some people think, well, those people who go to hell, go to stuff like that. I don't believe that's what this is about. And I'll explain why. Let's say that 8% of the population do evolve. What happens to the poor sod that's 8.00001%? That is one word and one deed off being on the other side. Does that mean that he goes with Bill Gates and the generals? It's not fair. That would not be fair, because I've heard, because nobody knows what happens after the event. I've heard elders tell me all sorts of stories. The one that resonates with me is this: that after that event, there is no punishment here. The reason why they can't stay here is this resonance will kill them. That's why we're getting used to it now. At 200, none of us could live at that resonance to begin with. You, me, anyone, no matter how evolved, and I'm not that evolved, we would not be able to exist. So that's why it's got to gradually go up so we can get used to it. But the souls that aren't ready, if they were to incarnate back here, as they were conceived and as they came out, they would die. So what they need to go to another planet that is resonating at the 7 and 8 and incarnate there until they get those final things right. Then they can come back. So there's no cut and dry answer for this. But the important part of this story is, for those that have evolved enough to be part of this change, then for them, they stay. And then what takes place after that is, it's a bit like throwing a pebble in a long, massive pool. There'll be a ripple effect that runs throughout the cosmos, which explains why aliens of so many different races have been here for so long, because it's all been about what they call this event. They've known about it for quite some time, and they've tried their hardest, because they cannot become directly involved in this. I mean, of course, the reptilians and draconians play their own rules. But those who play by the rules know this. So what's happening right now is those who are hanging on to this place are doing everything they can. Now, I remember 3 years ago, we started talking about the fact there'll be a pandemic in 2020. There'll be fear all over the planet. We said this from quite some time back. I remember Arnie Minnie Mace, one of the elders I spoke about, said 5 years ago, the first sign 5 years ago would be a run on toilet paper. And I remember at the time people saying, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, it wasn't ridiculous, because in our country, we had fights. We had massive fights over toilet paper. I remember one time, you probably did too. I remember going down an aisle once when there was no toilet paper left, but there was a security guard still looking at the aisles, even though there was nothing there, guarding the vacant space. So when they came back, he'd be there on the ready. So this was all predicted. Believe me, we've known about. The original people in Uluru have been doing ceremonies for the last 9 years leading up to this one. They've been building up to it. So the trick is this: why we're doing this, we're pushing this, we're putting on an online conference this weekend with all elders. That's all they're doing. They're all talking about the same thing. And you can find it on our website and our Facebook and stuff. This is the last presentation before that actually takes place. And some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, I'll repeat myself then again, but it doesn't hurt to repeat yourself with this. So what does that mean? Okay, I know a lot of people invested in different political leaders and thought they dragged them to the promised land. I want to make a point there. This is not something that you can look outside for. You yourself are the only agent involved in this. It's not Donald Trump. It's not any leader. Forget it. Keanu Reeves did a very clever thing quite recently. He said, this is not a political event. This is not an economic event. This is a spiritual event, and it will be spiritual first. Everything else from that point will be subordinate to it. The magic of this planet will come back. The love of this planet will come back. This is one of the most magical, beautiful planets in the cosmos. And it is ready to drag itself out of primary school, infant school, to become a university. And some of the students have not qualified. This is what this is all about. So each person has to make a leap of faith, because I can give you no scientific explanation for how this happens. And if you want scientific explanations now and you can't make that leap of faith, then you're not ready. I can assure you, and you're aware of this too, the Schumann resonance is doing this for only one reason. It's doing it, and it's never behaved like this before, because it's trying to prepare every possible human it can get. The concern we have, if we turn on Uluru, and if we manage to do this, this is what happens. It goes to 5 locations in Australia, of only which 2 I know, then 1 in New Zealand on the Rainbow Bridge. Then it runs across the whole planet and opens up all the sacred sites, all the ley lines like a spider web, and they're all interrelated, which means if you're meditating in Turkey or in Iceland or in Denmark or in Sweden, and they are in large groups, your energy goes into the earth, and the earth is connected. Once you're sitting on a rock or the dirt, which is the same thing, you are sitting on the mother. It doesn't matter whether you are, you become part of that energy surge. Now, what if it doesn't happen? I mentioned before, it's been said to me, and I've said to them this. We think it's going to, we know there will be millions upon millions of people involved in this. We already know this. It's getting around everywhere. What harm is there for millions of people to send out love and positive energy into this planet when it's reeking in negativity and fear? How can that hurt us? And here's another point. How can it hurt you to have a day where you dismiss all the other trash on this planet and sit with others of a like mind and find somewhere that looks like nature? You can't do it in a block of flats. You can't do it on a concrete road. You have to have your feet in the earth. As someone said, what if it rains? I said, I think white fellas have invented something called an umbrella. Try one of them. You won't get wet. What if you are not well and you can't get on the ground? Then bring a seat. Put your feet on the ground, but you must contact the earth. Now, let me explain. This sounds pretty easy, right? Just everyone coming out. Oh, by the way, can I make a point? On our website, Forgotten Origin, the elders have put up a statement about how they want you to meditate. They want you to cleanse. They want you to prepare. I want to make a point. When Roger Federer is playing in the finals of Wimbledon, the Australian Open, he prepares for it. This is the same event. I don't want people coming out with the alarm clock going at 9:01 saying, oh my God, I've got to go outside and have a 2-minute meditate. And they go out, they put the TV on play or whatever it is, and then, because I don't watch the mainstream TV anymore, and then they come back and watch it after the ads. Forget it, don't come out. You have to prepare yourself for most of that day. And if you can't, you're working fine. When you get home at a certain time and you've got 5 or 6 hours, then start doing it. Don't decide to do it at 9 o'clock, because I've got people arguing, is it 9:01 or 9:02? It's 9:02, and they're thinking, and then someone says, why does that matter? Why can't we do this for hours before and hours after? And the answer is you should. So then if it doesn't work, we're pouring positive energy to this planet right now. It needs it dreadfully. But what if it does work? What if it actually does work? Now, here's the trick with this. And what I've got to make sure, I've got to make this very clear, Lindsay, it's not as easy as people think to do this. Because there's many people. I live in the Byron Bay and Nimbin area, and we've got lots of hippies around here, believe me. And most of them will be there, but not all. because it's not as easy as you think, because this is what they want. If you send your energy towards it and it's tainted in any way, it hits the reject button. We can't use it. So you need to understand, and the best way to explain this, and I'll go through this again in a couple of days, but I don't mind saying it now because not everyone's going to come and watch our conference, so I've got to get this across anyway. I want to share with you the conversation I had with an elder not long after I was told about this the first time. Because at the end of the first time I met this gentleman who's having some really tough times at the moment, I asked him, well, what's the percentage of people who will evolve? And he said, yes, the elders have spoken about this. And he asked me what the percentage was. And I thought, oh, God, I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to do it. And I said 25%. And that was the first time he laughed at me. And I said, what, too high? I said, no, what, too low, I said. And he said, oh, no, the other way. Now, I then took that away and I discussed this with another elder, and I want to take you through the discussion, right? And this is how it went. I told him that number and he said, that's correct. No, that 25% is way wrong. And the number given to me before COVID, and I don't even think your listeners are going to like this, was 2 to 3%.
Wow.
That's it. And I argued the point with this elder. I said, that's ridiculous. I shouldn't have, because I've never won an argument with an elder. But anyway, I tried this time. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, look, here's how it goes. Humans, a lot of them don't understand the sort of stuff I'm talking about, and a lot of the new age stuff, hippie stuff, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. They think it's all a load of crap, all right? The stuff you're doing, I can tell you now, mainstream will think most of that's rubbish. I said, but that's okay. That's okay, because they're still good people. They love other people. They love their parents. They love their children, and they love other people. They do a lot of kind acts. And the elder said to me, why do you think we incarnate on this planet? I said, to learn love. Oh, right. He said, so what we're looking for is children who play well in the playground. What about in the classroom? Will love be enough there? You know? And I said, well, maybe not. He said, no, there's two rules, two things you come here for. One is to understand the meaning of life. I don't want to get into I'm 42 and stuff like that, but why we're here, the purpose of our existence, to learn, to lock into magic, to understand the things that really count, what the world is really about, through past this facade we get at the moment. That is one of the things we learn. We have to learn that in the classroom. So what you're telling me is the students you're talking about have done particularly well in one subject in the love area, but failed the other. No, you have to get a C- in both to step forward. Not an A+, but a C-. If you don't get that, you're not welcome. You've been incarnating here time after time to learn what this is all about and understand the mysteries of life, and you haven't bothered. You've just loved everyone and been a nice person in the playground. It will not be enough. I remember saying, all right then. I remember saying, all right, I'll come down to 10%. Because there's 10% that get it. They're trying to do love, and they're trying to get their heads around what's all going on. I said, that's the number. And he looked at me and said, oh, is it? He said, let me ask you a question. And I thought, oh, no, this is not looking good. I said, okay, what's the question? He said, I want you to ask. I said, now tell me, do you know people like them, like the 10%, who have to deal with fools and idiots? And I said, well, I said, it's called planet Earth. I said, they're everywhere. And so tell me, he said, have you ever heard them complaining about you, complaining about these people and what they've done? I said, yeah, I don't like hearing it, but I hear it a lot. I'm sure you do too. And he said, tell me, is that a positive or negative thought? I thought, I think I'm going to get done here. I said, I think it's a negative thought. And he said, do you believe the thoughts have a force? I thought, oh, now I'm going. I said, yeah, I do. He said, well, then what use are they to us? Because the person they're complaining about is not there to justify this and to discuss it. They've done it behind their back, and they've told other people who knew nothing about it bad things about someone else. How can we use that sort of person? What right have they got? If they don't understand right now the world is full of negativity and they're pouring more in, we can't use their energy. I thought, all right, okay. I said, I'm going for 5%. I said, because I don't talk about other people behind their back. I said, I don't do that. I'm aware of that. It's not a good thing to do. If you want to say something to someone, say it to their face, never behind their back, no matter what the reason. And if you don't want to say it, don't say it. Better still, don't even worry about it. He said, good. So we're down to 5%. You're going to stand by that? I said, oh, yes, I am. He said, oh, no, you're not. Then he said to me, do you ever run into fools and idiots? I said, yeah, we've been through this. I said, no. He said, I'm talking about you now. I said, yeah, I do. I said, sometimes do they really offend you? And I said, well, yeah, they do. He said, and how do you react? I said, oh, well, you know. He said, do you think about it? I said, yeah, I do. And I said, what sort of thoughts do you have? Well, that they're idiots and they should be doing this sort of stuff, and I get fed up with it. Oh, I see. He said, what sort of thought is that, positive or negative? I said, oh, no, I'm going down again here. I said, it's not really positive, it's negative. He said, well, do you believe that thoughts have any difference whether they're verbalized or not? And I sighed then because I'd realized I shouldn't have done this. I said, no, they are, it doesn't make any difference. He said, well, what use is that? So here's the trick, and this is a very important lesson I learned then. It's this: what every person who wants to become involved in this needs to understand, you're no use to anyone until you've cleaned yourself out. That's why what Kino Reeves said was correct. It's about us. It's not about any other person. It's about us doing this. And you can't fall on anyone else anymore this time, guys. You can't find this in a book. You can't find this in a video. You've got to look inside yourself and say, how am I reacting to these challenges I'm receiving on a daily level? Am I getting frustrated? Am I getting annoyed? Will this help me 3 weeks from now? And the answer is it will not. Will that still be left in the recesses of your brain when you come in on that day? If you're still talking about someone the day before, yeah, it'll be there. And that imprint will soil your energy. Now, remember, this box can only be turned on by enlightened people. Now, enlightened people don't have to know anything except one thing. Don't be angry with anyone. Anger is a mind killer. Fear and anger are the two greatest mind killers there are. They go together. And if you have one or both, watch the TV, don't hit the replay button, don't come out, because you're wasting your time. So when you read what they've said, what the elders put up on our website, we've left it there, we're going to leave there until the 21st, was the cleansing process is very important before the meditation takes place. You have got to spend time washing yourself clean of any negative thought, anyone that you dislike. You don't dislike them anymore. You dismiss them. You don't dismiss them with anger. You dismiss them with pity. Because if they aren't coming, they're missing out on the greatest experiment that's ever taken place in this cosmos. And it's coming to conclusion, and you're wandering off somewhere and you'll know nothing about it. And you'll be back onto the same treadmill that we're doing here again. You missed the whole thing. So those people who laugh at you, those people who say this is ridiculous, don't feel angry. Don't feel aggrieved. Just say to yourself, well, what a shame. And if they swear at you, if they say you're an idiot, remember, all they're doing is showing themselves to you. And if they accuse you of something, more than likely what they're saying is exactly what their problem is. So don't do anything. Just walk on by and wish them well and never hold anything against them. So what you've also got to do is start to draw away from the TV sets, the news, the negative. I don't know if you guys get negative TV all the time. All the news now is all negative.
I don't watch it either. I don't watch it. I don't read the newspapers. I live quite happy in my bubble. I'm aware of what's going on, but I don't allow it to.
Exactly. Do you know in Australia, we haven't had a COVID case in Australia now for weeks. In fact, basically, we haven't got the damn thing. But you go to the news every day, and all they'll talk about is the third wave that's going to come soon, and the vaccines is coming, and the people are doing the wrong thing. And one person who came here from Germany somewhere and got on the wrong plane and had already been tested and didn't have COVID and wore a mask, and everyone's panicking. They've asked thousands to self-isolate, even though the people have been tested twice and didn't have COVID, and everyone panicked. What they do is they, even in a country where there is no COVID, fear is still here. They will not let go of it. And you've got to understand why, because it's in the interest of the cabal and the reptilians and the people who run this country to keep everyone fearful. Because if we don't get those numbers up, the world doesn't change. Now, I can tell you now that if it doesn't change, this is, and I'm going to quote a Muse song here, this is the last chance to save ourselves. There is no more chances after this.
Yeah.
The Earth is wobbling at the moment. North Pole is wandering into Siberia as we speak. We're losing, I think, 3 to 4% of our insects every year. And when they're gone, we're all dead anyway. We'll die from that first before any global warming. Forget that. All these things are happening. The Earth will actually spin itself around and clean itself. The water will go around 3 times and wipe out all of humanity. But think of this. We deserve to go. I'm not talking about you and I so much, but as a group, we deserve to be wiped out. What about the birds? What did they do wrong? What about all the other animals on this planet that are quite intelligent, and some are probably some are more intelligent than some of us anyway?
Yeah.
What did they do wrong? Why are they being punished for our misdeeds? And I say to people, if you won't do it for us, do it for them, because they're innocent parties. I've got a carpet snake just sitting outside my door right now, and it ate, I think, a possum yesterday, and it's 4.5 meters long. It's been there now for 5 days, and it just stays there. And we walk past it every day. We say hello to it, and it looks at us because it's absorbing all that at the moment. It's a massive snake. It's 4 meters. And do you think it's going to bite me? No, because we understand each other. That animal understands me. I understand it. So now it lives at our back doorstep. And it'll be there for weeks. Then we'll go off and hunt and come back. It's become our pet because it trusts us. We trust them. The whole world should be like this. But instead, we attack our animals. We attack the land. And the Earth is fed up with this. This is why this is happening now. The Earth is offering humanity one last chance to earn the right to stay here. And all it wants is, by the way, I can tell you one thing. That 2% number was pre-COVID. I know it's gone up because of COVID. So think about this. Everything that happens on this planet has a positive side to it. People, in the future, when we live, we will have to live. I'm not going to say we're going to live hunter-gatherers' lives, but we're going to live. The rules will become indigenous, original, Arapaho, Hopi, Inuit, Druid, pagan. It will become like that again, where we become tribal in our mentality. We won't have massive cities anymore. They will become smaller, because a city of 5 to 10 to 15 million people is not a city. It's a concrete prison. It's a concrete prison. And let me give you a graphic example of what I mean by that. About 4 years ago, I was in Melbourne with a friend of mine, Binner, and we were going to a conference that we're talking at. And we got lost in the trains that were going somewhere in Melbourne. We're going the wrong way. And I looked in these carriages, and there were 4 sets of carriages all open, about 150 people. Nobody was talking to each other. They had these machines, electronic machines, and they were pressing them. I don't touch mobiles. I don't know what they mean. And every one of them was in Congress with their machine, not with another human. I looked around and thought, these people aren't humans. But then something strange happened. Because we were lost in talking to each other, which I thought was probably banned, talking. Some other people put down their electronic placebos and started to talk to us about what to do. And then we got ourselves involved in a conversation, and a few more joined in. And I saw this streak of humanity starting. And then we got to the train, and we're going the wrong way. So we got off the train, and I looked back, and all 6 people had picked up the machines again, and they were pressing again. And I realized they are slaves. They no longer have a life. They have a machine. They go to work each day. They get into these big concrete cave buildings with windows, and they stay in there all day long and breathe air-conditioned air and take in neon lights. Then they go back out at night and lock their doors so no one gets in, and they do the same thing again until they die. That's not a life.
No.
That's an existence. It's not even survival. It's going backwards. Survival can be enjoyable. This isn't. And people think they've got a lot of money, and they think they've got a flash house, and they think that somehow that'll get a tick when they die. No, it won't. You came here to learn 2 things, and now those 2 things they're learning weren't on the list. So what this turns out to be, Lindsay, is primarily, like I said, it's humanity's last chance to wake up to itself, and a lot are. Now, what we need, and I'm an original person, I've been given a regional ceremony quite a few times, and the right to do the things I'm doing, and to have the rocks I've got, which I've never collected, all been given to us, and quite a few sacred objects, which you're probably aware of through our website. We've got virtually all of them in this country in one place. They're all going on to country, believe me. We're all being used for that reason. But the point you've got to remember, if we don't get it right now, that's it. We're done. That's what I'm being told. Now, by the way, I can tell you that Indigenous people all over the world are saying, yes, it does begin again in Australia. Uluru is the centre. It is our spiritual centre. What it can do is turn the whole world back on, and the earth will be able to right itself from within. And it'll be able to reorganize and reset itself. And then each person after that point, then they're on their own journey. What I have been told is after the engine is turned on, and if it is going, every day past that switch, those on the wrong side, it becomes exponentially harder to get across. There'll be a greater test they've got to face and overcome to make it across, because they had the chance to make the leap of faith. They didn't take it. Then it must become harder. And then there becomes a point, maybe 2 to 3 years down the line, where it becomes impossible. You are locked in. My understanding is that there will become a time where we, whichever group I'm in, and I'm not convinced I'm going into the top group, to be honest. I am not even convinced that myself. But you will see each other as shadows passing out of the corner of your eye as that separation becomes larger and larger. And then there becomes a point where the staff hits the ground, and that's it. The decision is made. So primarily, in a nutshell, that's what the prophecy is supposed to be about. Non-scientific by the 10th degree, based solely on magic. And most people are going to say, well, that's difficult. No, it's not. Think about it. What was Merlin? What was Nostradamus? In fact, in the courts, even up until halfway to the 15th century, they still had magicians there. Every one of them did, because magic was known of all over the world. In our society, in original society, my teacher, he disappeared in front of 9 of us, including Graham Hancock, when he did ceremony. And we all saw him disappear. And later on, they referred to the other elders and said, oh, that's Kano's party trick. I've seen original people do things that are scientifically impossible, that are purely magic, that have no scientific base. And I'm lucky because I've seen that. It's not an issue for me. It's not difficult for me to absorb what they're telling me, because I've been lucky. I've seen it in my face about 5 or 6 times. There are old fellas around yet, and women, who can do the most amazing magic. Magic that doesn't make any sense in any scientific book, any university, in any textbook, but it's real. That is what the future is about. The future is about deciding whether you want to go to a planet that will re-establish itself and re-energize itself, or if you don't, then farewell for now, and farewell for quite some time, but you could come back, particularly if you're the next one on the list. You don't have much to do. But for some of us, none of which will be watching your show right now, I can assure you, there is nothing that can be done for them, and nor should there be. But that's not my judgment. That's the beauty of this. What I love about this, that every judgment theory and scenario I've heard of has all this violence. This is elegant.
Yeah,
because it really is elegant. Because no one gets judged but yourself, and there's no damage. There's no 4 apocalyptic horsemen running down the road there and then waving their sides or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's a simple matter of, do you believe in this? Now, it's quite strange, because when I started putting this out about 2 months ago, I thought, oh God, I don't know how far this is going to go. But it has actually, it's gone everywhere. Everyone's heard about it indirectly or directly, and it has got around. I know that there's a lot of pagan festivals that take place, which are wonderful, wonderful things. There should be more of them throughout the whole of Europe. And a lot of them are making them into 2 things now, both the festival for the solstice and also for this. And I've got to make another point. This has got nothing, and a lot of people have been saying, you got your timing wrong because of the solstice. It is not a solstice thing. It's to do with the great conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter. And at 9:02 at Uluru PM, that is when it's at its strongest, most powerful, and that is when the ceremony begins at 9:02. Now, here's the point. If people think they stop at 9:02, for God's sake, don't, because I don't know how long the ceremony goes for. You got to stay with us. It might be 2 minutes, it might be 2 hours. I have no idea. But I'm going to ask people, start before and stay with us for some particular time after. Now, I know it is difficult for people who live in places like England and Europe and Iceland and Sweden, because it's in the middle of your night. And I believe, I might be wrong, it was 38 degrees here yesterday. I'm not sure that it's 38 degrees in England at the moment. And I believe by the time it gets to the 21st, it could be quite chilly outside.
Yeah, just a bit.
I know there's a big group in Iceland doing it. I think, my God, you guys are heroes.
Yeah.
That is tough stuff.
Yeah.
I understand that. And look, get around some fires, natural fires, of course, and stay with it, because we need you. Seriously, we need you, because the whole planet has to be energized. And I'm assured of this. If the numbers aren't right, if there isn't enough energy in England, if there isn't enough energy in Europe, and wherever you are, you have sacred sites that need to be turned on. I mean, obviously, Stonehenge will be one for you, Mob, around there. Okay, well, that will be part of this. And that may be the focal point for the whole of England from that point on. That will become your temple, right? It will not be a church. I want to make this point clear. There will be no more churches in the future. I'm not having a go at any religion, and all religions are welcome to join this. But when this is finished, we're not going to have a figurehead. You yourself are the figurehead. You are an incarnation of the Creator. Don't look for it. Look for yourself. It's inside there. And if you doubt yourself, don't, because every human being, you've got to remember, us blackfellas, Aboriginal people, we have this belief before the whitefellas came, and we hold it still, most of us, not all of us. We believe that every human being on the planet is born with some degree of magic. And your role in life is not to increase your bank balance, but to cultivate the magical powers you have to the nth degree. That's what you come here for. And that's been stolen off you. You must understand, when the Pleiadians came to Australia, and when other beings came here, when they came to Australia, they came for a race they were going to share their genes with. And they chose Homo sapiens. You do realize we're not the most intelligent. The Denisovans have a larger brain. The Neanderthal had hot water services 70,000 years ago. Denisovans were making jewelry today that women would love to buy. And do you know what Homo sapiens were doing at that stage? Dribbling in caves. We've got a massive skull, which I think you might be aware of, that has 1800 cc, and it's got completely flat forehead. It's got no forehead. It runs backwards. It's far bigger than us. They've discovered another skull called Homo heidelbergensis, which has 1450 cc. We are actually fifth in the line of intelligence. We weren't chosen for this. We were chosen because we were the magicians of this planet. Not the philosophers, not the inventors. We were the magicians. And what they've tried to do, since other mobs have taken over this place and tried to run it differently, is to dumb down our magic and our contact with our soul. That is what makes Homo sapiens sapien. When everyone says it, when they say something twice, like we're wise, you know you're lying. You say it once, not twice. So we call ourselves Homo sapiens sapien. Very dangerous. We're not that wise. And if you look around today, ladies and gentlemen, look what we've done to the planet and try and convince me we are. We're not. But we are magicians. So what we need to do is to take back that was taken from us. So we can all become, if you're a white fella, we'll all become Merlins or Morganas or Nostradamus. And if you're a black fella, then I might become something close to my teacher, Kano, who I believe was the greatest original magician, Kadaija man in this country. That's my role, to find that magic. And that's the role of everyone. So this is what this is about. It's the dividing line where humans either wake up to what they've got the capability to do or leave. It's that simple. So it's like a classroom test, boys and girls, where we finally get to sit for our final exam. And every incarnation and every thought, every word that you put on this planet now comes to fruition. And all you've got to do, remember this, we're not asking you all to turn into Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. They've raised, the bar was high before at A+. They've dropped it to C triple minus. You don't have to jump over it. You just have to lift your foot to get over it. And all we're asking you to do, and when you think about it, it sounds so simple. Clean your mind, clean your soul, take out every negative thought, and for days on end, leading up to it, practice this. Practice this lack of anger, lack of emotion other than concern, pity, and love. And the people who upset you, smile at them. Don't be upset with them. Their days are running out. Now, what I do tell every person that listens to this, I'm going to use a phrase that my boss, Kano, gave me many times when he was at one of our talks, and he spoke to every person in the room and said, every one of you people are holy warriors. Now, not holy warriors with a fist. Those days are gone. Holy warriors with the mouth and with the soul and with their heart. And your job, and particularly in your country, so, I mean, in our country, we're fearful, and we haven't had COVID for so long, it's not funny. We don't even know what it looks like. But that's not the case where you are and for the rest of the world. And you guys have got to ask yourself a question. Why is it the two countries on this planet that have the least amount of COVID, which is none, are Australia and New Zealand? And that's where these things are starting. Now, all the politicians are putting up their hand and said, I did this, I did this. No, they didn't. They did nothing that the others haven't done. What they don't realise, this planet, this particularly Australia and New Zealand at the moment, which are linked together, we're getting ready. And our planet right now, we've got no room for this COVID rubbish. It's gone. Not because of what they did. It's because this planet is ready to energise. And we're preparing ourselves. And I can tell you, as soon as this does energise, you can forget COVID. It'll be wiped out. Once this starts to kick up, it will have no room for it. But COVID is a means to an end. Because what it does is it challenges people not to be fearful, not to listen to what these doomsayers are talking about all the time, is to walk past all this and keep your head high and realise there's a better future ahead for everyone, as long as I personally clean my soul, clean my thoughts, and push myself towards, to begin with, our rock. Okay, if you want to look at our rock, you can. But if you want to look at Stonehenge, you can do that too, because they're linked up. Make no bones about it. If you push that into Stonehenge, don't worry, the channels are open. We just need as much human, positive magic. That's what this is, magic. We're going to do something different. I don't know what the number's up to. I know it's in the millions and millions. Fine, let's make it in the tens of millions, because the more people who do this, how can it hurt them? Exactly. What harm can it cause to them? So my plea is simple. The original people from this planet, all of them, indigenous all over, we've had 5,000 to 6,000 years of grief. We've had a really hard time, but we've held fast to our beliefs. We kept them for a reason, and we kept it for the 21st of December, 9:02 p.m. Because once this starts, there'll be no more parliaments. We'll sit around in fire circles, and we'll have, and here's the part that half of the world really loves, and the other half thinks, oh shit, is that right? I must point out to you, the world will become matrilineal. There will be no more male leaders in the new world. And that's not to say the men can't speak to the women and make suggestions. We can. It's not to say the men can still protect and can use their big shoulders for whatever they want, but they can't make any more decisions. They've been doing it for 6,000 years, and look at the last 6,000 years. I taught history in high school, and you know what it's about? Warfare, right? It's about warfare. And occasionally you get an amazing human, male or female, that thinks of something like Galileo or Da Vinci, and primarily no one recognized them at the time, and after they're dead, then everyone says, oh, they were pretty good. But primarily, it's all about fear, warfare and men taking control.
Mm.
Now remember, the last group that was still locked into the right way were the Greeks. Why? Who were the final authorities there? The 7 oracles of Delphi. And what were they? Women or men? Women. I remember a line from Socrates or Plato. When Socrates was told he's the most intelligent man in Greece, he said, I am not. And I remember the line was, but the 7 oracles of Delphi said you were. To which he then said, well, then I must be. Now, when men start to realize, and by the way, can I make a point?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, real women. I'm not including Margaret Thatcher, Golda Meir, and the women who've become men because they're more dangerous than the men, because they sacrificed what it is. Now, let me explain from an original viewpoint why that is so important. Because we believe this. We believe there's 2 types of magic, men's magic and women's magic. Which is more powerful? Women's magic. Why? Because women can create. Men can never create. We believe when a woman falls pregnant is an arrangement between the spirits, the soul that's coming, and the woman. The man has no right in this. And I've seen a ceremony that takes place. I was lucky to see this. It was filmed. It was quite odd, but I did see it. Of a man seeing his daughter for the first time. He hadn't seen her for a week. And all the women were singing, and the grandmother and the woman brought the child to this man who was laying on the ground. And they laid the baby on his chest for 2 minutes when he held it. And after 2 minutes, they picked it up and took it away. And that was the first time he met his child. And they understood that creation is women's business. Men are allowed to spectate, but that we can't create. Only women can do this. So what we need for the next 1,000, I don't know how many years, no men can be involved in any decision of any form. The women will lead us. And believe me, there are plenty of women that would do a far better job than Boris Johnson, Scott Morrison, Donald Trump, or any other male leader. It is interesting. One of the most functional and most admired countries on this planet is New Zealand. Why? Because they have a woman there called Jacinta Ardern.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, she's still part of the system. Everyone said, oh, she's part of the system. I said, everybody is, for God's sake. But she's as far as you're going to get when you can see her femininity controls her. And it's interesting, the last election, she got the best vote ever in New Zealand for anybody ever. Why? Because people are responding to the fact she's a real, proper, caring woman that had a baby while she was in Parliament, brought it to Parliament with her, and she has changed New Zealand to the stage now where everyone says, oh my God, I'd love to live there. While she's there, I would too, to be honest, except it's a bit cold there for me. We live in the subtropics and I couldn't go there. We don't have a woman leader like that. God, I wish we did. And you know what? Every country on the world would say the same thing. So really, what Jacinta's doing is getting people used to the idea that women can lead a country better than any man ever could. And because more men and women voted for her than any other leader they've ever had, you know what they're telling us? Yeah, it's true. It can happen. What if we had a whole country, a whole world full of leaders of her ilk, but they're not linked into the system anymore, because she still is. They're not beholden to the system, and they will sit around in a fire pit with a fire burning and make decisions as equals. That's the future that this ceremony is offering humans. Yeah, it's a leap of faith, but isn't it a wonderful dream?
Yeah. No,
do you know what?
Is there not a phrase, or in a book someone famous said it would be Western women who saved the world, or something like that, or it would be women that saved the world?
Well, it's going to be women, and of course this is going to be a lot of Western women involved in this. There has to be. I mean, that's part of the deal. But it'll also be Eastern women. It'll also be African women. It'll also be Aboriginal women. It'll be all the women together. But the point is, at the moment, the Western world does read. The Western countries do rule the world. Let's be honest about it. Let's be pragmatic about the truth of it. So to begin with, there's a massive redistribution of wealth that the Western world has to do to make the rest of the world equal, so that everything gets fixed up. So to begin with, obviously, there'll be women in Western countries who'll be having, like in America, in Britain, in some of the European countries, and to a lesser extent Australia, that'll have a major impact in that.
Mm.
But there will also need to be a woman leader in China and in Japan too, and they'll be part of this too.
Mm.
But yeah, to an extent, I can see that. But it doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who the woman is, as long as she is a proper woman.
Mm.
I just don't want the ones, and that means a lot. Not all of the women who've got into politics have been tainted on the way, and they won't be part of that system. But hang on, Jacinta got through, still tainted. But, you know, I mean, if the system changed, she'll be able to fit into that pretty easily.
Yeah.
She won't have an issue with that because she already has the right heart. Now, I mean, I know she's made a couple of draconian rules when it comes to COVID and a few other things when it took place there, and a few other things about civil rights that aren't right. And she's done a few things wrong, so all the critics don't attack me all at once for saying this. But I've got to tell you, compare it to the rest of the world, mate, and I prefer to have her than what I've got in my country. The one I've got, oh, he's shocking. I've got one that's really bad. He won't even sign up on any environmental treaty. He's a piece of rubbish, but we're stuck with him. I don't want him. I want women, but remember, these women have to understand that we are going old way again. Mm. We're going back to magic. We're going back to tribal systems where everyone's equal. Equality, we are all equal. What you guys are learning out for the first time is the cleaners are important now in COVID, aren't they? Mm. And we all used to think that cleaners were rubbish. And all of a sudden, the people keeping the supermarkets open, that are the checkout people, we all thought were dumb. Without them, you don't get food anymore. And what people are starting to realise that vocations that they looked upon as being lower and lesser and not worth as much money, without them, we'd be dead. And now who goes and cleans up the places when COVID takes place and it's all over there? Who goes and endangers and puts their life in danger for us? The cleaners. Mm. So all of a sudden we're starting to realise, and who are the rich people? People like Bill Gates and Soros and them. Do they care about us? No, they don't. So why do we let them run the world? And they do. They run the world. Yeah. So this is about taking that power away from them, but it's taking away in an elegant way where if your soul is dark and your soul has got malice inside it, so be it. That's your judgment. Mm. You've then made your own decision, and there's nothing you can do, nothing you can wrangle, nothing you can buy, and no one you can convince that can change it, because you're only arguing with yourself. Mm. And your soul knows what you've done. You can hide from everyone else. You can lie to the whole world, but you can't lie to yourself because you know the truth. Yeah. So what this is all about is a time for each person over the next 3 and a bit weeks to prepare themselves and to become a holy warrior. Mm. And I've got to say, if you're in Europe, you've got a tough job ahead, because you're doing it in the middle of winter and you're doing it in the middle of night. So any person that goes out there, you get 2 ticks as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I'll be at Uluru in the middle of summer when it was 45 degrees during the day, and it'll be about 18, and we'll consider that freezing cold. We'll have jumpers on. I think that's appalling, and you're laughing at me, because as far as I'm concerned, 18 we get in the middle of winter, we think that's freezing. I've got a suspicion in Europe you guys might look at me and think, what are you talking about?
That's like also
so put on your warm woolly clothes and put on a couple of nice fires to keep it going, because the fires will be fine. Keep yourself warm for when it gets around that time, and for the hours that follow, give us everything you've got, because we need all we can. And if that does happen, then for our grandchildren, we've created something, a seminal part in not the history of the earth, but the history of the cosmos. Mm. This is such an important event, and it explains to you why the aliens have given up so much of their time and their homelands to come here and try and nurture us for so long for this particular moment in time. Mm. The Pleiadians set this up. They did not tell the other races they were doing this. And yes, they bought crystals from the Pleiades and imprinted them in there. And they are the most powerful crystals in the cosmos to do this, because this planet needs all the help it can get. Everything's ready. The ceremony, I can finally say, and I've never said it until now, I've done many discussions on this, the ceremony will take place. I can also tell you that anyone that goes there and camps out will be arrested and fined, simply because of this. And people say that's being racist because they're white and they want to join in. No, You try and camp out in Uluru when it's 48, 52 degrees in the sun and there's no water, no sanitation, no bins. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to die. And who's going to come and save you? The rangers. And what are the rangers trying to do right now? They're in the ceremony. Can you see what they're doing? They're supposed to be focused on a ceremony, not saving people who feel like, I need to be at this. So many people have told us, I need to be at Uluru because I have something important to put in. I'm thinking, yes, it's your ego. Because you can do this anywhere in the cosmos, anywhere on this planet, and it'll have as much effect as if you put your hand on the rock. So why do you need to be there? Because your ego tells you, no, don't come. Please don't come. If you can speak Anungo, if you can speak Walpri or Pitchinjat Jara, and you know the ceremony and you've been invited, come. If you haven't been invited, we were invited because we think they need our sacred rocks to accelerate this actual ceremony. And we do have the most sacred rocks in Australia. And they need to be put in formation, which I know the formation of, to help assist. Now, maybe they don't need it. I'm not even sure about that. I don't care. I don't care. As long as the ceremony happens, I don't care if I'm the other side of the world, as long as it happens. Because if it happens for us, it happens for all of us. So primarily, that's what this is about.
Wow. That's a lot. Like, so much of what you've said though, Stephen, like really resonates with me. Do you know what I mean? And it's like things that I've seen, things that the Pleiadians have shared with me, you know, in terms of the soul divide and etc. And I'm seeing very much over here in the UK this real sort of growth towards people wanting to have community living and to leave the system. So everything you've said, I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, I'm hoping it makes sense for everyone, because we do need you, because honestly, I can't say the numbers we need. But when I first heard them, I thought, we can't do it. Seriously, I just did not think it would be possible. Because when I was told the number needed to turn this on, just in Australia, when I was getting the number up, I was hoping for, say, 3 figures, you know, 200, 600, maybe 4. I could have lived with 5. But when it got into 6 figures, I looked at him and I thought, oh no, come on, 6. I'm not even sure I'm wanting to be one of them. Geez, that's hard. So it's been a concern for us for quite some time. We are on it to an extent, because we've been lucky enough to put this out, and we've been sort of like the focal point for this, and we get so many people each day, and I love it. Each day people ask and say, can I have permission to share this? And I wanted to explain, because on it says, would you please ask for permission first? And some people think, why? Well, it's like this. In old way society, when someone has, and the original people at Uluru, whether it's the Anungu or Pitchinjat Jara, they have knowledge they want to share. When they give you that knowledge, you have to ask for it respectfully and say, may I tell others? You can't just assume it. And I'm so pleased that every day we get about 20 to 30 requests, and I've got to keep writing back all the time. I check every hour. And I always write back and say, thank you for observing Old Way protocol. That's a very good first step. Some people have said, I didn't see it straight away, but I'm asking for that. That's fine by me. That's okay. If you didn't see it straight away, because people don't read everything, that's fine. As long as when you do see it, please then make the formality of asking if it's okay. And I'll give you that okay. That's not an issue. I'm not going to check and say, oh, I don't like the way you wrote that. It's not like that. It's just a simple formality. It's a bit like shaking hands. Oh, shaking hands. We can't do that anymore, can we? Sorry about that.
No.
I do apologize.
Elbow bumping.
Yeah, but you see the trick with that. You know why they did that?
No. Yeah.
Well, I've got to understand something of it. It's very clever, because humans basically are social creatures. Now, can I explain to you how Aboriginal people would shake hands? They put both their hands underneath their armpits like this. They wipe their sweat, and they come up to the other person and put their sweat on their shoulders. That was a way of giving yourself to someone else. What people don't understand, humans originally, shaking hands was a very important sacred event where you gave your positive energy to someone else. By not letting humans give their energy to each other, they're isolating each other from each other. It's a very clever move, this one, this shaking hands business, because what it is doing, it's separating humans from each other, so they're not working as a group. They're fearful of touching another person, and this is part of the ploy. I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist. I believe it does exist. But the shaking of hands, people don't understand how important it is. Original people, when we shake hands, we have 3 different motions we go through to do it. It's not just that. We hold in different ways. 3 ways we hold our hands before we separate again. So we give all our energy to the other person. It's not just one thing like that. There's more to it. It's a very important ritual they've banned us from doing. Well, in the future, we'll learn how to shake hands properly. And the right way to do it, if you really want to shake hands properly, it might sound a bit gross. You take your sweat, which comes from the center of yourself, and you give it to another, and they do the same to you. That is really meeting another person. And people will start to learn to become pagan, which is what you guys would understand, to become druids, to become the things of the past, and they'll learn, as they learn the magic and the community and the sharing, they'll start to see the joy of living, because most people have lost the joy of living each day. I mean, I'm lucky. We live in a rainforest. As I said, I've got a snake outside that's our friend, and every day we see wallabies, we see possums, we see a dozen different birds, we see animals all the time. We're all supposed to be living like that. Where are your sparrows gone in England? They're nearly all gone. Why have they all gone? Because they're young. Your mothers and fathers' sparrows, to begin with, feed their babies insects. You haven't got any left. That's why they're dying. There used to be sparrows all over Australia when I first got here. They're nearly all gone now. They're dead. Why are all the birds dying? Because the insects are dying. Why is everything dying? And it is. And the way we're going, we can't stop it. The way we're offering, we can. It's simple as that.
Wow. Well, fabulous. Thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. So I didn't see that on your website either. So do I have your permission to share this video?
Sorry?
I said, do I have your permission to share this video with others?
Oh, God, of course, because I'm here with you anyway. It goes without saying. No, you don't have to ask, because I'm already here with you. So that's fine. If I didn't want to share with you, I wouldn't have turned the thing on. So therefore, that's implied. In my case, by all means, share it near and far. And those people, I wish they would do the same. We still have 3 weeks. You've got a stunning site. You've got a stunning stone arrangement at Stonehenge, and I know you have others too. Yeah. If you can get close to them, fine. If you can't, find a stream, find a field, find a forest. And if you can't do that, find your backyard. But for God's sake, find something that's dirt, and then put your feet on it, sit with it. And if you want to do it in groups, and so many are. If you do, join our website. Sorry, I don't even know what it's called properly. I don't know. My son's not here.
I'll put all the links underneath.
Yeah. And look, you'll find that everyone's trying to make groups up. And if you're not in a group, you'll find there's a group. There'll be somewhere in England. There's quite a few groups in England. They're all over. Even in places like Turkey and stuff like that, there are people doing it all over the place. You'll find a group somewhere that's doing it. Become part of it. Put that day aside. It won't be lost. Even if it's freezing cold, you'll be with others. You'll have a fantastic time. And you may well be part of an epoch-making change in this planet's history, its future, and the future of the cosmos. We can't offer you more than that, and we just hope that you do join us.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much again, Stephen, for your time and your energy.
Thank you. No worries. Now I'll try and turn this machine.